Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Well, today we are going to work on, for the most part, the mystery quilt from Fort Worth Fabric Studio. As you can see, I've got some blocks on the wall behind me from previous weeks. We already did the Christmas trees. Phew, excuse me. And the stars. And this week, we're going to work on the fir trees. So I made one ahead of time. So the fir trees are going to be made in the same way we made the Christmas trees, but they're just a little bit of a different shape. The trunk is a little bit longer and these pieces are a little bit of a different size. But unlike the Christmas trees, sorry, that was funny to me. Unlike the Christmas trees, we don't have to make 8 of them. We're only making 4. So I made one ahead of time. We're going to make one together and then I'll make the last 2. So for a total of 4 altogether. So by the end of this sew week, you should have 8 Christmas trees, 8 stars, and 4 fir trees. And then next week, we get to put everything together, which I'm super excited about. I cannot wait to see this quilt all together. It always looks different on paper than it does in person. So very, very excited to put this whole quilt together. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and get started on these fir trees. Okay, I've got all my pieces laid out here, as you can see. So the first thing that you're supposed to do is make the top piece, then the middle piece, then the trunk. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to make the trunk first because that is the easiest piece. So I'm going to get this one out of the way. So sorry if that confuses you, but I'm popping down to step number 3. The only thing you have to do to make this piece is to add the 2 background rectangles to the center brown rectangles. I'm going to go ahead and do that first. That is the easiest piece to finish quickly and get out of the way. So we're going to do that. Now these 2 are going to be built just like the other trees, where we're going to make sort of flying geese out of them and then add some background pieces to either side, which I have laying next to the pieces here on my mat. So these are pretty much, if you've already done the Christmas trees, these are pretty much the same thing. So they're just a little bit different size shaped pieces. And these only have 2 levels on them instead of 4 or 3. What was in the other ones? Was it 4? Yeah, 4 in the other ones. So they're squattier trees. And that's okay, because if you look in a pine forest, you have some shorter trees and you have some taller trees. So, all right, so that is done. I need to give that a press. And don't forget to make 4 of these. We're just making one together right now, but you'll need 4 of them for the quilt. An interesting question came up the other day when I was on a sew day with some folks, and they were asking about what people's favorite colors were and their least favorite colors. And as quilters, I think we're probably more open to color than most people. But I usually typically say beige, because I feel like beige isn't really much color, and I like color. And my other color that I don't work with a whole lot is brown, but I do work, and people say, oh, you hate brown. I don't hate brown, but brown I use when it's appropriate, like for this tree trunk. And this brown thatched Ramota is so pretty. It's just like the right color brown, like this beautiful chocolate. I really love it. So I don't hate brown. I do like brown sometimes. I just don't work with it a lot in my quilts because I like sort of brighter quilts. But for this, of course, it's perfect. All right, so that trunk is done. We're going to put that guy aside. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go back to step 1, and I'm going to go ahead and put the flying geese, or put the squares on the ends of these to make the flying geese. Now, these squares, I think, yeah, they're longer than my diagonal seam tape, which is usually how I eyeball these kind of things. So I'm going to get out my marking pen and mark these on the diagonal, because we are going to sew these corner to corner, just like you'd make a flying geese unit, and just like we did the Christmas trees. Just need to make sure this is on the back. Anytime you have a tone on tone fabric, it can be a little tricky sometimes to tell which one's which. But if you look at it, the back side will be a little bit more dull, and the top side, sometimes you can feel the texture, so that's a good way to figure it out. And I'm going to go ahead and draw the line on the back of these ones too for this other size block. That way it's just all done, and I can just put my marking pen away so it's not in the way over here. All right. Well, now that my cold has finally gotten better, all the fall allergies are happening, so I'm still a little bit congested, but that's not from my cold, thank goodness. That took a while to get over. Now it's the fall allergies. But I don't mind, because I love autumn. It's my favorite season, so I will take the allergies with it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this middle piece, which is step 2, and do the flying geese on this as well. Now this one I don't have to stop, trim, press before I can add the second piece, whereas the top one I do, because they do overlap a little bit. On this one they don't overlap, so I can just do both at the same time. Okay, and do the other side. And then I'll trim all these and press all of them at the same time, and then we can put that last piece on the smaller rectangle. Okay, now let me grab my rotary cutter and that little ruler. Yep. And I'm going to trim these away. Quarter inch from where I sewed. And if you're somebody who likes to use scraps, these actually are pretty good size triangles left over that you could turn into other half square triangles if you like. So pretty good size pieces. And then we'll do this side, and then we'll press all 3 of these, and then I can add that last square to this top one here. All right, yeah, see, pretty good size triangles. So you'd have 4 pretty decent sized half square triangles if you sewed those together as well. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab the iron and my magic juice. All right, now I'm going to finger press these. Bend them to my will. All right, here we go. This fabric is ironing out so nicely. Great fabric. Love it. Okay. All right, that one's done. And here are its little side pieces. And so I'm going to set that aside for now. We're going to add the last square to this flying geese, and then we'll give him a press, and then we can add his side pieces as well. Okay, let's trim this away. After this cut, I can put my rotary cutter and ruler away because there's nothing else to cut. At this point, it's just sewing and pressing. Give this guy a press, and then we'll add the side pieces to each of these Flying Geese units. Do you guys use a wool mat for pressing? Just curious. And I've noticed that I didn't used to use a wool mat. I got this when I went to a retreat recently. It was one of the giveaways. I've noticed that some hairs come off of it every now and again. Do you guys have any like thing that you just cut them off with scissors? Do you have like one of those wool mat cleaner things? Just curious if you guys use a wool mat, what you do for those. Okay, so those are the back sides. We're going to add these rectangles to the sides of this one and the smaller rectangles to the sides of the second one here. I'm going to add both to both sides and then we'll press them all at the same time. Oh, somebody recently in one of the videos, and I can't remember which one, asked me if I ever pin. Because they said that my piecing is very precise, so they wanted to know if I ever pin, and I just don't show the pinning. The answer is almost never, if I can get away with it. I don't like pinning because 9 times out of 10, I stab myself, and who wants to get blood on their fabric, right? I don't know why I do that. I've talked to many people who have no trouble pinning, and I actually have another friend who never pins either because the same thing. Every time he tries to pin, he stabs himself. So I don't know what it is. Maybe we're uncoordinated or something that makes us prick ourselves instead of just putting the pins into the fabric. I don't know. And I can sometimes successfully get pins into fabric. And then when I'm sewing, I'll prick myself as it's sewing or as I'm trying to take the pin out. So I don't know what it is with me and pins, but they're not my friend. Every once in a while, I do pin out of necessity when I really want something that I think is going to be tricky to line up, like if it's thicker seams, and I really want the points to match up and things like that, but I rarely pin. Now that being said, that doesn't mean I'm telling you guys not to pin. If you love to pin, please pin if that makes you feel better, if your blocks come out better for you. But I've been sewing for a while, and I don't have too much trouble getting my blocks to come out the way I want without pinning. So as long as it works for me, then I'm just gonna keep on going. But that was an interesting question. So I thought I would share the answer today. And thank you to that person who noticed that my my blocks are pretty precise, because I do try to get them as precise as possible. I do enter quilt shows here and there, and I can say that that is one thing I'm kind of proud of, because that's one thing that the judges always comment on is my piecing. They always say that my piecing is fairly precise. I had one comment this summer on a show that I was in, and actually I think it was the local fair, that they said on one of my quilts that the piecing was practically perfect, and I was like, oh, I guess that means I'm Mary Poppins. But I wish I had her bag full of goodies, because that would be amazing. The things I could do as a mom, a business owner, with Mary Poppins' bag of tricks. Oh. But it was a really nice comment that, you know, the judge didn't have to make. So it was nice to... It was nice to get complimented on something that I work hard at, so to be recognized for that hard work. So, all right, we're just gonna give this a press. See how fast and easy this block goes? It's really nice. Nice, quick block. And you'll have to make 4 of these this week, not 8. So, not as many to do, so it shouldn't take you as long. I know, like I said before, that some of you still work full-time, so it can be sometimes tricky to get to all the blocks when there's like 8 in 1 week. But so if you haven't finished all your blocks from other weeks, this would be a good week to catch them all up, since we're putting this together next week, since there's only 4 of these guys and they're fairly quick. Those stars were pretty quick too. There's just 8 of them, but they went together really fast. Okay. Oh, love it. So cute. All right, there's the block. Okay, well, we finished our fir trees. Here they are again. Oh, there's a big thread on there. Can't have that. All right, so you have to have 4 of these all together. And again, you need 8 Christmas trees, 8 stars, and 4 fir trees. And then next week, we get to put this all together. I'm super excited about that. So thank you again for sewing with me this week, and thanks again to Fort Worth Fabric Studio. This has been another great mystery quilt. I'm so excited to put it together, and I'm loving this fabric. This fabric is gorgeous. So until next week, I will see you. Have a great week and keep sewing. Bye.